Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Friday to join me. I really appreciate that. I'm kind of still just getting myself together here on this early Friday evening. I hope that you guys were able to wrap up, your work week or your school week or whatever you had going on. You feel me? M through F, and now it's IRL time to chill. So, TBH, I really do appreciate all of you guys here joining me on the regular. If you're new to the program, definitely consider subscribing. I know we get a handful of new subs every single day. It's a slow process, definitely. Especially, like when, you don't really have the kind of funds you'd like to sort of, promote the channel here on YouTube within YouTube. So, we're looking forward to that. But until then, I just kind of want to talk tonight about being an adult. Now, okay, I know that's pretty, you know, broad as it concerns a topic, but let me tell you, there are some really fun things about being an adult. All right, and so let's start with obviously what we talk here a lot about on the channel. I mean, how many of you guys don't know how old I am or my current, status as it concerns a partner or whatever? But I am single, and for all intents and purposes, I am enjoying being a middle-aged single man. I mean, Avi, I want to meet a girl IRL and then have a long relationship. I mean, ideally that's kind of the end game here as it concerns what I seek out in a partner. Kind of that whole old school. I'm just like a good old American New Mexican boy, hoping to get married one day, honestly. It's kind of what I want. Never been married. So, that's an exciting thing to look forward to. And statistically speaking, something that'll probably work out more for me if I wait just till I'm a little bit older, even. Nonetheless, I have gone from being single to being single to being single. I've been single for a long time as it concerns last year I was in a relationship and had been subsequently the prior 2 years as well. But remember, both people got to know that they're in the relationship. And so being an adult means a bunch of cool different things, and we'll talk about three different things that I want to explicitly sort of highlight as being an adult. And one of them, again, is obviously being single. The second of which I want to talk about being an adult is a really cool thing is freedom, which is a little bit different than being single. And then finally, I want to talk about empowerment. And so, first, let's talk about being single. I think that being single is underrated in that it takes a tough person to be single. Point in fact, which is, I guess, why everybody decides to pair on up, put rings on each other's fingers, have a, family, and call it a day. All while, statistically speaking, most of those people will, in fact, end up getting divorced and or committing adultery, which is kind of both two ways to really destroy the institution of marriage, honestly. Lack of being faithful, and then obviously that's resulting in a divorce, which is opposite of marriage. Marriage is supposed to bring people together for the duration of their lives. Yes, consenting, sentient human beings are capable of making these decisions. As tough as they admittedly are going and will always be as you move into the future with your partner, I think it's something that just needs to be talked about more, honestly. And I understand that it's even stigmatized around the world being single, and I kind of don't vibe on that, again, because if the alternative is having an affair with somebody or straight up being in a relationship that's not fun and is toxic, then I just never have understood that stigma of when people for in China, for example, there's a large documentaries plenty about this very topic as it concerns loneliness and the sheer mathematical numbers that China has when it is talking about its population, and men outnumbering women, like several times over in some instances in certain areas of China, which is tough. Not even dating apps can help those guys out there. So, being single, and not to mention that society also, and that's again what I'm talking about, is society judges us. Society judges us for being married, for being divorced, for being single. And with all of these labels come different kinds of, definitions of each of them. And quite often, it's just kind of stereotypical to highlight the bad ones, in each one of those areas than it is to talk about the good ones. But I really feel like being single, again, is a really interesting thing in a world that has so many different opinions on your personal life. It's like, who you with, what are you doing, are you with anybody, why aren't you with somebody, why are you so old, and it's like, I mean, I have made different decisions in my life. Admittedly, some of them have not been, in hindsight, the best of decisions that I could have made. That's just called being, an adult, which is ironically what we're talking about. And so let's talk about freedom now. So we talked about being single. Let's talk about freedom. Freedom is not having to be beholden to another human being for any kind of um, reason that is anything other than platonic, I would say. You feel me? In that, like, it's a real sort of sometimes lonely kind of a feeling to wake up on the dolo every single night, you understand? But then also the very freedom of like performing that act is sometimes, people would argue, in a way magical. I mean, we'll refer to World Health Organization statistics, and I often quote this very one a lot because it means um, a lot. It speaks volumes, and that is that, statistically speaking, according to the World Health Organization and many other entities from all over the world, the happiest group of people are always going to be single, never married, and don't have any children, women. So, like, as far as lifespan goes, like the age of which people start to get, certain kinds of mental conditions and things like that. The best bet is to be a woman, never have any kids, don't get married, and be single. Again, like, that's some trade off. You feel me? I mean, I'm not a girl, but I can tell you that, like, that road is tough. I mean, in terms of, women are low key underrated, as it is, like, with men giving them recognition, to kind of like the power they have, like, to be happier than us in every way imaginable, and all of at the cost of not being in a relationship with us. And so that's very interesting, but nonetheless, and we'll move away from this, but the second key part of that same sort of bracket of statistics is that the second largest group of people that are happy all over the world are comprised of married men. And so, again, you can imagine that the ladies got us beat there too, dudes. I mean, the happiest we could ever hope is to be married happily and, you know, live a life like that, all while literally making our wife, sort of take a step down, in that she will literally never be as happy as she could be because she chooses to be with you, and thereby making you the happiest of which in the couple is. And again, like, low key, that's like super, like, empowering, which is our next topic, our next category as it concerns being an adult. So we've talked about being single, we've talked about having some freedom, and now let's talk about empowerment. And I think how those two concepts, being single and having freedom, often equate to feeling empowered. Empowerment is a very, very underrated, valuable, untradeable commodity, as it concerns sentient beings. Serious. I know that's some nerdy kind of like talk, but it is in fact truth. Bet. Being empowered is a very, very powerful feeling. It allows for people to grow. It allows for people to be their best selves. It allows for people to innovate and invent and be creative. This kind of empowerment is so priceless that most of us, unfortunately, will never experience the level of empowerment that one person can have as a human sort of experience. Like, because it takes a village kind of a thing, and to be empowered means to feel comfortable in your own skin, to not worry about what people say or how they feel about you, especially because it's you shouldn't compromise yourself, and oftentimes people are bullied into making themselves not really feel like being empowered is even an option because of the abuse that they may have suffered, or just being a victim in any kind of situation that would make you in fact being like abused or whatever in that particular scenario. So being empowered is priceless. Being empowered is, again, something that is an earned privilege, I'd say, as an adult, as an American adult, because you have the power to empower other people or to completely kind of slight them and exploit them. And unfortunately, we live in a world where most Americans are responsible for the latter of those two things. They're responsible for taking away that feeling of empowerment. And that's not by any sort of, lucky guess as to what really drives people. Empowerment and empowering people is, again, something that is hard to buy, and even when it's bought, it's often not, the same kind of strength as the real stuff is. You feel me? Like, no synthetic sort of process of empowerment can ever truly, truly make a person feel like they have free will. Again, which is an empowering feeling. And I feel like being an adult, we have an opportunity to either empower other people or to take away their basic feelings of intuition and growth. And I think we should empower people. I think that we should openly share information. I think that we should, really, really sort of rein in the current capitalist model, and that just a handful of people benefit, and that really is not what capitalism is at all. Capitalism is something a little bit different than that, and as we've talked about on this channel, there's always inevitably social capitalism, right? Which is kind of the hybridization of socialism and capitalism. So being an adult can be a very, very empowering thing. And I really feel like, every single day that I wake up and I get a little bit older, that just like I felt when I was young, I've not really ever aged, fortunate or unfortunate for me, in my mind, in that, the world is a canvas, and to not get like corny with that, because I'm sure you know where I'm going. I think it's absolutely imperative to view every single day like that, because if not, you get stuck in this sort of real toxic kind of cycle mentally that's really hard to break out of. And sometimes that gets you too. That's another part of being an adult. It's a part we didn't talk about tonight, seeing as though we only talked about being single. We talked about having freedom, and ultimately we talked about having empowerment, and how all of those things are good and can sometimes be bad as it pertains to us being adults, more specifically here, obviously, in America. And I'm happy to share all of these, thoughts with you guys. I'm out the door right now. My roommate and I are going to watch a football game. I believe the Green Bay Packers are playing the Philadelphia Eagles, I think. And if that is in fact the case, go Philly. You feel me? Because your boy here has been to Philly. In West Philadelphia, born and raised. I walked by Will Smith's old apartment. That would have been something cool to say if the dude didn't slap Chris Rock in front of anyways. I hope that you guys have a really good night, and I'll see you guys here in a little bit for the rest of the videos. I have some interesting topics to talk about tonight. I look forward to sitting back behind my desk and hanging out with y'all. So maybe get some snacks and just like straight get ready to chill. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours, and I hope that you guys have a really good night. Until we see each other again, and even if we don't this evening, be safe out there. If you're drinking, definitely don't drive, and make sure that you have all of your set up ahead of time so that you can make it home safely. You always have a good time, but you just got to make it home safe. You feel me? So that you can have another good time, and in that way, also making sure all the people around you are being safe. So I hope that you guys have a really good night, and I know every single night I sound like more of an old man. Be safe out there. But hey, it's like some genuine feeling. You feel me? And yeah, I was the same dude when I was 21. Oh man, you know. Anyways, I've literally asked hundreds of people to leave parties in my early 20s. Again, fortunately for myself and my peer group, I've had their respect in that like no one ever really made a big deal out of it. But I'd say that was a pretty big deal. I'm like, guys, it's getting late, please leave. Anyways, I hope that you guys have a really good night, and thanks again for joining me on my channel. It's really fun to share my experiences with you. If you're not already a subscriber, consider subscribing. It takes just a couple of seconds. Tap the subscribe button. If you don't want to hear notifications, you could just turn them off. You feel me? But you could still be a subscriber, so like there's always that. If at all you don't want to be a subscriber and you just want to continue to join me, that's cool too. You're always welcome. Everyone's always welcome. And for those of us that are more ardent fans of what I do, I have a Patreon, and that's at patreon.com/VlogsBoutNothin. So I hope that you guys have a really good night, and thanks again for joining me. All right, bye.